On June 9th, NASA will be picking 4 new astronauts to become a part of the next Artemis mission, Artemis III. So that means it's time to predict who those astronauts are going to be and build our fantasy Artemis team. I didn't have the best track record for Artemis II. I got 1 out of 4 correct, which was Reed Wiseman. But I used to work at NASA for the International Space Station program, and I worked in the same building as the astronauts, so I got to learn a little bit about what goes into the astronaut selection process and what might narrow it down to who are the most likely candidates to get picked. So let's see if I can do a little bit better than 1 out of 4 this time. As a starting point, it helps to understand what Artemis III is. Although Artemis III is following up on Artemis II, it is actually not going to the moon. It will be a crewed mission to low Earth orbit, aka where the International Space Station is around Earth, to test out some of the lunar landing technology and how it works with the Orion spacecraft, which is what the Artemis II crew flew on. Artemis III could launch with both SpaceX and Blue Origin human landing systems, or just one. It really depends on which ones are ready for the mission. These are the heavy-duty systems that will bring the crew down to the moon. Think the lunar module from the Apollo era. So if you're familiar with space history, Apollo 8 was very like Artemis II, and Apollo 9 will be very like Artemis III. And based on a tweet from the NASA administrator, it does sound like we would get an update on Tuesday when the crew is selected about which of these landers still have a shot at being on the mission. So what that means for us in predicting which astronauts will get picked for the mission is that this is a great mission for test pilots and engineers. But we will come back to that later. For now, let's take a look at all 38 NASA active astronauts to start to see who we might be able to take off the list to narrow down to a short list to pull from. To start off our selection process, these are all of the current NASA active astronauts. There are 38 people currently eligible for flight assignment. Now, I know we also have international partner astronauts, but I will get to them at the end so we can just go through this group first. So to start out, we've got to get this big list down to a much smaller short list that we can make some choices from. So here's my criteria for forming that short list. First, have they flown in space before? I think first-time space flyers are much less likely to get picked for this mission. Yes, we had Jeremy Hansen on Artemis II, and that was the reason I got one of the people wrong last time, but I think this will help us cull that list down to a much smaller group of people. 2, do they already have a flight assignment? I think if they already are committed to going to space, they are not going to get put on this mission. On a similar note, have they flown to space in the last year? If they've been on a mission very recently, there's still rehabilitation and debriefs that are involved, and it would be unlikely that they'd be able to immediately jump into training. And last, there's a few special cases based on roles that people have within NASA that I think are going to rule them out. Our first and easiest cuts from this list are going to be the Artemis II crew, as much as I'm sad to say it. I love this crew, but they are in public relations, debrief, and taking a break mode. They've had a hectic few months, and I do not think they are going to be put immediately on another mission again. I do think they have potential to go on future Artemis missions, but they are going to have a gap and be involved in training the next few crews to come. Our next cuts are going to be people that are currently on board the International Space Station or have upcoming flight assignments. So that primarily means people on Crew 13 or any upcoming Soyuz missions. This does take out Jessica Meir, which I'm very sad about because I think she will be great on a future Artemis mission. Next, we're taking out people who have flown to space very recently within the last year because they are likely still rehabilitating and debriefing from their missions. I might regret this one, but now we're taking out people who have never flown to space before. I think there's a chance that someone from this cut makes it onto the list, but I'm gonna take the risk here. Okay, now we've got a few weird special circumstances ones. I'm gonna take out Randy Bresnik because he's the current assistant to the chief of the astronaut office and is likely involved in some of the crew selection for Artemis III. I'm gonna take out Stan Love because you might have heard his name recently. He was at Artemis II Capcom, and I bet he will be involved in debriefing Artemis II as well and not available for training. Then I'm going to take out Don Pettit. He is the current oldest astronaut in the astronaut corps at 71 and still flew relatively recently. I don't think he's going to be the pick for this. And then this one is either he is on the crew or he should be cut here. Douglas Wheelock. He is currently the co-chair of the Joint Test Panel for NASA's Human Landing System, aka the landers that are flying on this mission. I have a feeling in the role that he's in, he is going to need to be involved on the ground, helping coordinate some things related to these landers. I do think he has a very good shot at being Capcom for Artemis III though. And there you have it. This is my short list. This is who we're going to be talking about more in depth to pull our crew from. And specifically, we're going to pull 3 astronauts from, because I am saving 1 slot for an international partner astronaut. We're going to talk about this group in 3 different chunks. The first chunk will be the veteran astronauts. These are the people that have been with NASA since the shuttle program in some capacity and have a lot of spaceflight experience. They are the Reed Wiseman, say, of the Artemis III mission. So let's go through this group of 5. We have Tracy Caldwell Dyson. She is a PhD in chemistry, has done a ton of jobs in the astronaut office, has flown to space 3 times, most recently on a Soyuz in 2024. Then we have Michael Barrett. He was the pilot of NASA's SpaceX Crew 8 mission, last flying to space in 2024. He has a medical background and was a lead crew surgeon for a very long time, and he has flown to space 4 times. Next up, also flying to space 4 times, is Stephen Bowen. He was the commander of NASA's SpaceX Crew 6 mission in 2023. He actually worked on submarines quite a bit before he became an astronaut. Then we have Mark Vande Hei. He has only flown to space twice in comparison to the others, a lot less, but he did join during the very end of the shuttle program working Capcom for a number of shuttle missions. He also broke the record for the longest stay by an American in space, flying in 2021 to 2022, has a physics background, and served as a combat engineer in the military. And lastly for this group, we've got Stephanie Wilson. She's flown to space 3 times, but they were all shuttle missions, so cumulatively, she's only spent just over 42 days in space. And I think she deserves her moment for a big mission. She was originally assigned to Crew 9, but if you remember, there was a lot of stuff with the Boeing Starliner mission where some astronauts had to stay in space for a lot longer than originally anticipated, so as a result, she got bumped off of Crew 9 after being assigned to it. The other person that is also affected, Zena Cardman, has now already been reassigned, flown to space, and come back, and Stephanie has yet to receive another flight assignment. I think this is the perfect opportunity to slot her in. In that time she hasn't flown, she's had many internal NASA jobs though, and she has an engineering background, which once again is good for this mission. So from the veteran astronauts, my top 2 choices based on when they last flew to space, how many missions they've flown in total, and their personal backgrounds would be Mark Vande Hei and Stephanie Wilson. I'll leave till the end which exactly ones that I am picking to put on my fantasy Artemis crew. We have now reached by far our biggest and arguably most important category for this mission, and that is our pilots. We've got a lot of people to go through here, so let's rapid fire through all the people that we want to consider. And sadly, to start off, I have to take off 3 awesome women because they have flown more recently than the other pilots on this list. They are Jasmine Mogbelli, Anne McLean, and Nicole Ayers. I love them all very much and think they are great candidates for Artemis 4 and 5, but I don't know if the timing is going to work out for them on this one. So let's meet our potential pilots. First up, we've got Nicole Mann. She was the commander of the SpaceX Crew 5 mission. She has extensive military pilot experience, and I think she is perfectly timed with her astronaut class to be another option for one of the first Artemis missions. She was in the same astronaut class as Christina Koch and Victor Glover, which they didn't know at the time was perfectly timed to have the right amount of experience for these early Artemis missions. And she has only flown to space once, but she has that experience that I think she can bring to this mission. Now we have Frank Rubio. Things in his favor. He is a medical doctor and was an aviator and a medical doctor for the Army for 19 years. And he has the record for the longest single-duration spaceflight by a U.S. astronaut with a mission of 371 days. He beat Mark Vande Hei's previously set record that we talked about a minute ago. He last flew in 2022, which is a good gap for flying again. The one thing that's really working against him is he is serving as the class advisor for the NASA astronaut class of 2025. These are astronaut classes that last 2 years until they graduate. So I think there's a chance he might not get put on this because he needs to see that role through 2027 when they will graduate. Now we've got Rajachari, who was the commander of NASA's SpaceX Crew 3 mission, again in that 2021 to 2022 timeframe. And a really interesting thing about him is he's responsible for leading astronaut development and testing of the human lander system. This is what is launching on Artemis III and will be tested in space during the mission. Just like everyone else, he also has extensive military pilot experience. Last up for this group, we've got Matt and Bob. Matt has a test pilot and engineering background and is the commander of NASA's SpaceX Crew 8 mission and flew that in 2024. And then Bob was a pilot on NASA's SpaceX Crew 4 mission and has worked a lot with different programs that are developing Orion, as well as, just like Raja, the HLS, the Human Landing System. So that benefit is a huge plus here and could really be an asset in learning to pilot them. Okay, last 4 on the NASA shortlist to talk about. First, we've got Andre Douglas. I mentioned earlier he has not flown to space before, but he was a backup for the Artemis II crew, which means he has been through Artemis training already and could be a great pick because he also has a doctorate in systems engineering, and engineering could be a great asset for this test mission. Then we've got Kayla Barron, who flew on the SpaceX Crew 3 mission and spent time on the International Space Station. She had extensive submarine experience before becoming an astronaut, and she has worked extensively with NASA to test out a number of different Artemis technologies since her last mission. I will admit though, she is actually one of my top picks for the first woman to walk on the moon, so I'm not going to pick her for this mission for that reason, but she is still a great option. Then we've got Laurel O'Hara. She flew to the space station coming back in 2024 on a Soyuz rocket. She actually has a lot of experience in ocean exploration and worked as an engineer on the different submersibles at Woods Hole Oceanographic Institute. And last up would be Woody Hoberg. He has a doctorate in electrical engineering and computer science from the University of California, Berkeley, and although he is not a military pilot, he is an instrument-rated commercial pilot in single-engine and multi-engine airplanes, which led him to being the pilot of his SpaceX Dragon mission, SpaceX Crew 6. So, really interesting background, last flew to space in 2023. All right, I won't keep you waiting anymore. My picks for the 3 NASA astronauts, which we will go over the international partner astronauts in a second, are Woody Hoberg, that we just talked about, pilot experience, extensive engineering experience, still a gap from when he last flew. I think he would be a great addition to the team. Rajachari, piloting experience, and has extensive experience working with the human landing systems, which will be a massive part of this mission. And for our veteran astronaut, Stephanie Wilson. It is her time to fly. She was bumped from Crew 9. She's had so much experience supporting NASA behind the scenes for so long. I think she is a perfect person to put on this mission. Now, if you'll allow me a caveat guess, if Mark Vande Hei is on this mission, I bet you Kayla Barron is on this mission too, swapping in for Stephanie Wilson and Woody Hoberg. The two of them have a really great bond and flew in space together. They were actually also in space with Rajachari at the same time, so I think this could be a really powerful trio as well, especially due to their team dynamics that are already existing. But we've still got one spot open, right? Well, for the international partner that's going to be on this mission, I think it's going to be either a Japanese JAXA astronaut or a European ESA astronaut. It's hard to say exactly which one. I don't know who's going to get the slots at Artemis 3, 4, and 5, but I have a feeling they're still going to spread the love since Artemis really is truly an international effort. I know a lot of people are probably going to be rooting for CSA astronaut Ginny Gibbons for this one as well, but I don't think Canada is going to get an astronaut on back-to-back missions, so hoping for her for a future Artemis mission. So here are all of the current active JAXA astronauts, and here are all of the current active ESA astronauts. And from those, here are all of the ones that have some amount of spaceflight experience. Again, I know the international partner astronaut last time did not, but I'm going to guess whoever's put on this one will. Let's once again take out people who have flown very recently. Now, I'll admit I don't know the international partner astronauts as well as I know the NASA astronauts, but I have followed at least one International Space Station expedition for all of these crew members. And I think Aki Hoshide would be a great pick because he's actually flown on 3 different spacecraft before this, so he knows about learning a new spacecraft to fly. He's flown on a Soyuz, a space shuttle, and a Dragon capsule, so why not throw Orion in there? Samantha Cristoforetti is really dedicated to science, has done some cool work aboard the International Space Station. Alexander Gerst actually flew with Reed Wiseman in the past, and I think it would be fun to kind of continue Reed's legacy into Artemis through Alex. And then Luca Parmitano. He's actually been on quite a media push recently in his home country, and I'm curious if there is a reason for that, being on a media push prior to coming to the US and being involved in the huge Artemis III push potentially. He also just has a great attitude, and I feel like he would be a really fun addition to this crew. So, drum roll please. I am ready to present my picks for the Artemis III crew. They are Luca Parmitano, Stephanie Wilson, Rajachari, and Woody Hoberg. I think this would be a fantastic crew to carry on the Artemis III legacy. Luca would bring experience from 2 different space missions and a great international perspective. Stephanie brings space shuttle era veteran legacy experience, as well as so much background NASA knowledge. Raja brings a lot of human lander system knowledge, as well as piloting experience, and Woody Hoberg brings the engineering and piloting experience to the crew. I think this would balance out really well and would be a really, really interesting crew to see fly. Now, there's so much we don't know about behind the scenes, people's personal life situations, and different types of crew dynamics and people that work really well together. So I'm excited to see how many of these are correct. Stephanie Wilson, I also guessed on the Artemis II crew list that I had, and she did not make it then. So girl, I'm really hoping you get it now. And if not, maybe she'll be in my predictions for Artemis IV as well. So there you have it. Those are my picks for the Artemis III crew. We'll see how well I do. Let's see if I can do a little bit better than Artemis II, where I got 1 out of 4. And I want to know what your guesses are. Let me know down in the comments who you think is most likely to be picked, and we'll all come back on June 9th and see how correct we were after the announcement is made. And if you want to see more videos like this, please like and subscribe. I apparently do this for every Artemis mission, even if it's been a while since the last one. And in the meantime, there'll be lots of short form content in between here and on all my other channels. Godspeed, Artemis III.